The story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Was this just a myth or a fairy tale, or did it really happen as the Bible says? Genesis 19:24 says, "Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven." I believe it happened just as the Bible says, which would have been about 1713 BC, a year before Isaac was born, which was approximately 3,700 years ago. Before this divine destruction came, we are told in Genesis 13:10 that this area was well watered like the Nile Delta and even like the Garden of Eden. This is the reason Abraham's nephew Lot chose this area to live in. But about 500 years after the destruction, Moses wrote, "The whole land is brimstone, salt, and burning. It is not sown, nor does it bear, nor does any grass grow there. Like the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah and Zeboim, which the Lord overthrew in his anger and his wrath." Deuteronomy 29:23. Then in the first century, Peter wrote, "And turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them to destruction, making them an example to those who afterward would live ungodly." The Jewish historian Josephus, also of the first century, wrote, "There are still the remainders of the divine fire, and the traces of the 5 cities are still to be seen." According to the scriptures, these 5 cities lay along the west side of what is now called the Salt Sea or the Dead Sea. At these 5 locations, these type of structures can be found. Many 90-degree angles can be observed. These do not naturally occur in nature. Perhaps the greatest piece of evidence is the presence of millions of sulfur balls pelted into everything in the landscape. Here we see a burn mark around the hole in the rock that the sulfur or brimstone entered. Interestingly, volcanic geothermal sulfur is normally 40% pure, but the white powder sulfur found at these sites has been tested to be 98% pure sulfur, far more pure than any other naturally occurring sulfur on the planet. When sulfur this pure burns, it doesn't burn orange but blue due to the extreme heat temperatures. So these cities glowed of eerie blue flames, flames hot enough to cause the thermal ionization pattern found in the stones at these ancient cities. This is just a sampling of the evidence found by the late Ron Wyatt. Examine the evidence for yourself at arcdiscovery.com. Lastly, since this destruction and devastation was left for a warning, what is it saying to us? It is telling us that our Creator, the Holy God, will surely judge sin.